everyone looking at where every team is and what they're about. What did you like about the way your team performed today?
Oh, I was proud of the team today. I thought in the conditions, I thought we physically and mentally were strong to be able to get that result in what has been, a great weekend for the footy club. I mean, it sort of capped it off after the women's win yesterday, which was a great thing for our footy club, and for our guys to come out and play the way they did today just made a great weekend for the footy club.
What stood out in your mind about what targets you're meeting with that sort of performance?
I think it was more the evenness of what we were able to create. I mean, you saw we unfortunately lost Tex, or he didn't quite come up and wasn't ready. But Riley Knight just came in and played his role, and that's really all we asked of him, was to come in and play to his strengths and bring what he brings to the team, which is different to Tex. But clearly, as a guy who played mainly forward, he did that and that's just one example. But I thought we were even across the group, which is how we want to play our footy.
You keep talking about team defence, but you might have defined what team attack is by having so many players who just keep loading up the scoreboard. Is that a fair? Yeah,
well, again, we're not focusing on one guy kicking goals or targeting guys. We want to move the ball in a way which gives us ultimately the best chance to score. But that way is often different each time, depending upon the game and the style. And that game sort of was pretty hot for a while, and then probably just broke up in the second half, which allowed us to move the ball a bit freer than maybe we could in the first half.
What do you feel you needed to change to get that change in the second quarter?
I felt in the box it felt like we were actually playing well. The scoreboard didn't reflect that. We'd missed a few opportunities. But the numbers all suggested we were right in the contest, and we'd probably made a few errors off the ball or with the ball, which cost us. But I felt that certainly the discussion was more like we're in this. It's just a matter of hanging in there, and slowly it started to turn.
That deliberate call against Talia at the end. What did you think of that? Is that where the spirit of the rule is at the moment?
I think that's from what I understand, that's the correct interpretation of the rule, which is if you're outside 9 metres and you rush the ball through, regardless of the pressure, then it's a free kick. So it's a free kick.
What about your pace in the midfield today, Don? I thought, Charlie Cameron was, fantastic when he was there. Wayne Miller had a good influence as well, and obviously Rory Atkins had a superb game too.
Yeah, look, really pleasing for those guys. I mean, there's some guys who we've introduced in the midfield through the JLT, and guys are going into their second and third years as well as AFL footballers. So they took another little step today against a high-quality opposition. So great for them, great reward for their effort they've put in through the pre-season, and good start to the year for them.
Bringing that increased leg speed through the midfield, was that something you identified after that semi-final loss to Sydney last year?
Oh, look, I think you need that balance and blend. I mean, that's always the case, and we look at our squad and how we can play the game, and clearly, we think there's an area there with some guys with some good leg speed. We should be able to use that in that capacity. So, and they brought that today, which was great.
And when you see Rory Laird play like that, how do you work through that argument? Is that where he's best for you, or do you say he's got a talent that maybe could be used in the midfield? How are you going to juggle that for?
Well, it's a blend and a mix. It's probably the same argument or discussion that's been around Brodie Smith for a number of years as to, his halfback sort of stuff. Could you get more of that through the midfield? And as you know, we've explored with Rory Laird in the midfield through the JLT, and we'll continue. Today he did most of his work down back. He's got a handy knack of finding the ball, which is a great thing. And he was outstanding today. He was clearly I thought the best player. So it was great to see that. But again, we want that flexibility. We can play him there and play him through the midfield as well.
What did the heat and humidity do to your guys?
Oh, look, they all reported it was pretty hot. I don't know what the actual temperature got to in the end.
33.
33. So it was a hot day, and it was a hot game, as you'd expect, round one against a very strong opposition. I think that was always going to be a battle of attrition, and pleasing to our guys as they hung in there, and we kept some good run up, which was great.
So when we do that heat policy that gives you the extra time in the breaks, shouldn't the common sense also say you change that interchange cap instead of 90, maybe make it 110 to give you 5 extra a quarter to ease the play?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's probably the AFL control the heat policy, and the decision was extra minutes to allow the players to recover at the break, and it's all about player safety and so forth. And I would have thought if it got much hotter than that today, it probably would have been a challenge. But again, I'll leave that to the AFL. They govern the game, and they govern the rules around how we play. And the extra 2 minutes was probably helpful, just to allow the players that extra break to get cool at the quarter time and half time.
But would it make sense to rethink the cap on a hot day?
It's probably a challenge because you've got to then look at across the rest of the fairness across the industry. I would have thought, if for one particular day with extra heat, does you allow extra rotations? What happens for games that are in Darwin and such? There's a ripple of all those decisions, I think.
With the heat today, did that sort of impact how you used Rory Sloane? Because it seemed at times, you went off the burst, but then had decent stints on the bench. So obviously, given he hasn't played football for 5 weeks, is that something you're conscious of?
Yeah, look, we were mindful with Rory of it was his first game of the year. He hadn't get a chance to play in the JLT, so we wanted to make sure. Obviously, we wanted to keep his quality around the ball for as long as we could, but wanted to also make sure that he got enough spells. So we probably factored in 1 or 2 extra spells for him per half. I think it ended up being just to allow him to be fresh and not push him beyond the limit of what he was probably capable of given his pre-season.
They say coaches are never happy, so is there something comes out of that game you're thinking about?
Oh, there's always something you can learn from. I walk away with some. There were some of our decisions with the ball and off the ball that we'll keep working away on. But as I said last year, I think self-satisfaction doesn't lead to progress, and at the end of it, we take away a really good win today, a great win for our footy club, and it was great again to see the amount of people who turned up. First game of the year, hot day, sitting out in the sun all day. It was fantastic for our fans, and. But we learn what we did well and what helps us play good, strong footy, and we keep working on other areas, and we get ready for Hawthorn come next Saturday.
Was he close at all? You spoke about late in the week that he was close. When did you make that call?
Yeah, he was really close, and to be honest with it probably came down to a decision, with a bit of medical intervention as well. I mean, it's one of those things where he trained fully on Thursday. He had some awareness, and always some awareness rings a little bit of an alarm bell. He trained with us again on Saturday, and then he was fairly confident, but we probably just felt the risk was too great. And the hardest part you've got with a hamstring injury is you can't actually test it at genuine game speed, where you're being asked to repeat effort, fatigue, change direction, kick left and right foot. So I guess a bit of experience suggested to us, and the advice from the medicos was probably give him another week. So he should be fine for next week, which is a positive.
You had Lever and Thompson come back through the Sandfield trial against Woodville West Torrens. Lever Law reports are very good, Thompson so. Where are they in the mix for the Hawthorn game?
Yeah, well, look, it's great they got a game under their belt. They got 80-odd minutes each, which was fantastic in terms of their first hit out for the year. Jake's both played reasonably. Again, I watched the game yesterday, and there were some good signs there. So look, they'll be around in the mix. I'd suggest, in fairness to the guys who played today, they've done a fair bit in terms of earning a spot for next week. So, but it's great to be getting some of those players back. A number of other guys as well.
You're one of those guys with Andy Otten who first game in 960 days.
Yeah,
he did a fine job, I guess. Be hard to leave him out, wouldn't it, on form?
Yeah, look, and he was fantastic. That's the thing. He's earned his spot. He's earned his spot through his attitude towards his training, his approach at training, and you saw that today. He came in with great confidence, knowing that he had a good pre-season. He played well in the JLT, and he performed accordingly. So that's what we want on the side. We want to pick guys who are in good form, they've got confidence in their body, and play the way we want to play. And Andy did that today, so it was a great result for his efforts.
All good, guys. Any other injuries apart from McGovern? Anyone else?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
No. Thanks, guys.